Hey JJ, it's November 1, 2021. Welcome back everyone to Breakdown.
The mini episode.
Yes, a mini episode today. Today we're going to focus on a review of the Michigan State football game from last Saturday. And I want to see what my favorite sports analyst JJ here got to say about the game. JJ, did the game live up to the hype?
Yeah, it was an instant classic, I think. It was always, pretty much always competitive.
What made it a classic? The competitiveness, or was there anything else? I mean, why was
Offensive players made plays, defensive players made plays. It was a tightly contested game. It was a 1 point final, or one possession final score.
yeah,
And came down to the wire. Did it live up to the hype for you?
absolutely, absolutely. Uh, Next question: uh, What takeaway should a Spartan fan get from the game?
That they have the most resilient football team in the state of Michigan. I think both Michigan and Michigan State have a more resilient football team than the Lions, unfortunately. But Jim Harbaugh is known for saying that his players don't flinch and this and that, and it was Michigan State that didn't flinch. They were looking down the barrel of defeat and were unnerved and came through in the clutch. So I think resiliency is what the takeaway for the Spartans.
Did you notice the writing on the back of the helmets for the Michigan State players?
I don't know.
It has on the back of their helmet. It says "relentless."
Okay.
Uh, they were down. They didn't quit. I think that's my takeaway. Uh, what should Wolverine fans take away from the game?
That Michigan is not resilient. They do flinch. Their coach didn't have enough faith in their starting quarterback, I don't believe. Um, and there's little things that they don't focus on the details. There was penalties when Michigan State went tempo. There was a lot of 12 men on the field penalties. There was a lot of things that needed to be cleaned up. They looked a little disorganized. Would be my takeaway if I was a Michigan fan.
That 12 men on the field, I know they had at least two, maybe three penalties for that. Should they have not tried to substitute in those situations? I mean, going forward, or would they? How will they adjust to that? Will they just not substitute, or what will they do?
Yeah, they're gonna have to figure out a base defense that can play without substituting, that can play the run and the pass without substituting, because that's what every team that faces Michigan's defense going forward is gonna do. Every team with the capacity to run tempo should and will run tempo against Michigan.
Okay, should America should America now consider MSU a legitimate contender to win the college football playoffs?
Oh, to win?
To win
Oh,
the
okay.
college football playoff?
No,
No. Ooh.
no.
Ooh.
But they are a legitimate contender to make it to the college football
Ooh.
playoff. They're what, six? They're six in the polls right now. I think
Fifth.
so. Well, fifth in the AP, sixth in the coaches. I think they're a legitimate contender to make it, but winning is another story. I mean, they just need to score a point in the college football playoff first. But yes,
So that old adage on any given Saturday doesn't hold true in your mind. Once you get to the playoff, I think any of the four teams there got a shot. You have a legitimate shot to win it. And if they make it there, I'm gonna say they have a legitimate shot. But
Okay.
I see you don't.
okay,
But
okay,
we can agree to disagree.
okay. The
Uh,
route to even make it to the playoff goes through Columbus, as it always does. Unfortunately.
well, Columbus got a lot of playoff games between now and January, because every week they're in a playoff game.
Luckily for them, they're the best team in the conference.
Because if they lose, the best team doesn't always win.
Okay, well,
If they lose,
Ryan Day has yet to lose a Big Ten win.
if they lose, they're out of the playoff. So every game is a playoff for them. But
It
but
the
but
the,
but
the
but why is it that Michigan State shouldn't be considered a legitimate contender to win it? Why not?
because they entered the game against Michigan as the 121st best passing defense, and they surrendered more than 380 passing yards to a game manager QB. They also let another QB throw a touchdown on them. They left the game. I mean, I can only imagine what C.J. Stroud and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. I can only imagine what they're gonna do to Michigan State's corners. I Michigan State's corners are a problem for them.
Okay. You know, I love the stats you just gave about the passing yards, but you omitted the biggest stat, the most important stat,
What was that?
the final score.
Okay, well, Ohio State doesn't care about the final story between
No,
two
no, no.
teams.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
I mean, congratulations on beating Michigan. The path to the playoff doesn't go through Michigan, though.
Okay. That's why they play the game. That's why I love,
Mhm.
and I want to reiterate, love me some college sports. I love me some college sports. JJ,
Okay.
moving to my next question. What surprised you most about the game?
I would have to say Cade McNamara having the game of his life, throwing for 383 yards. That was a surprise. And their biggest dynamic threat, I would say Blake Corum's play surprised me. He dropped a potential touchdown pass, and then the fumble was. Jim Harbaugh said it was on him, but I don't know if it was. I don't know how you want to break it down, what percentage was on him versus J.J. McCarthy, but he takes a little bit of the onus of that blame for that fumble. But he wasn't the dynamic playmaker that I expected, so I would say Blake Corum's ineffectiveness was pretty surprising. And Cade McNamara's effectiveness was equally surprising.
Cade McNamara was actually brilliant, except for that last interception late in the game.
He was the best quarterback that took the field.
He was getting the ball out of his hands quickly. The pressure was not getting to him. Early in the game, Michigan State was sending a linebacker in blitz, and they were not even getting close. Later in the game, they started sending corners, and it caught McNamara off guard a little bit, and he started feeling the pressure, made a couple of bad passes. So you mentioned the takeaway from Cade McNamara and the running back combo at Michigan. Any other things surprise you?
I mean, Peyton Thorne's play surprised me. I know he hadn't done well when he sees a good defense against Nebraska. He had under 200 yards. Against Indiana, he had under 200 yards. But I was kind of surprised by how poorly he played in the first half. I know one of the interceptions was a tip drill, but he didn't look crisp. He didn't look in rhythm. But his legs really got him going.
Yes.
And that was one of the big differences between Cade and Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne was a true dual threat, and that resiliency, his resiliency and his corner and back mentality kind of got him through.
Relentlessness. That's Michigan State's motto on their helmet. Relentless. So I take it you were not surprised by Kenneth Walker III putting down 197, I believe it was.
No, I mean, he's gonna potentially make it to New York. I think he's fifth right now in the Heisman odds, and he had a dynamic game. He's a dynamic player. I was surprised by the 5 touchdowns or the 4 touchdowns, however many he had, but no, I expected him to produce.
I expected him to produce as well. I did not expect him to produce to the level that he did against the defense that is Michigan defense. That defense was, what was it? I think they held Wisconsin to 43 yards rushing this year. That defense did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole game. And Mr. Kenneth Walker III, he elevated himself. So I will agree with you there. A thing that surprised me, and I want your comment on this. In the first half, U of M scored 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals. Did the fact that they were taking field goals rather than getting touchdowns, did that bother the Michigan fan base? I know it bothered them, but why did they moved the ball so well? They got over 550 yards total offense. Why couldn't they punch them in the first half?
Well, Michigan State does have a top 10 red zone scoring defense. Think when things get tight, Michigan State does seem to they have a bend but not break mentality. They hold
Okay.
team opponents um, 2 field goals. Um, but I just think that Michigan's inability to execute in the red zone and only selling for field goals had a lot to do with them not being able to put Michigan State away completely, and Michigan State was able to come back as we all saw.
Who had the biggest loss in this game? Michigan Wolverines or Jim Harbaugh?
Oh, Jim Harbaugh.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to my next question, JJ. Midway through the third quarter, Michigan led the game 30-14. What was Michigan doing right up to that point to have such a lead? And what did they do poorly after that point to give up the lead? And did Michigan choke?
Michigan did choke. Um, at some point in the third quarter, they had a north of a 95% chance to win the game according to ESPN's predicted metric.
Okay.
And they anytime you have a over 90% chance in the second half of a game and you let that slide away, that tells me that you didn't do something right. But I mean, I think what they did right was getting the East Lansing native, the freshman who came in the game without a catch, getting him involved. But I think it was just mental mistakes with that did them in. I mean, even the freshman Andrew Anthony, he as dynamic as he was on that long touchdown in the first quarter, and then
93
and then he had another touchdown in the second quarter. Um, he did create a holding penalty that stalled the drive that they would have converted a first down, if not a touchdown on that play. So then they ended up having to settle for a field goal. So I think those mental mistakes are the things that cost them. So
In addition to that, I think there were numerous drop balls by Michigan.
Blake Corum he was looking at open grass.
I know, but there were others.
Yeah.
Key drops.
Cornelius, yeah, had him.
There were some key drops in the game. But you mentioned the freshman wide receiver, Andrew Anthony.
Yeah.
I know you and I saw him play basketball in person numerous times, and we commented on his athleticism.
Yeah, he would look athletic, but basketball athleticism is different from football athleticism just because of the confines of the 94 feet within a basketball court. I really didn't realize he had that breakaway speed. You can't really put that on display in like the way that you can in football. Basketball is more of a quickness and sharp cutting, but his speed, just flat speed, was impressive. He's a 3-star recruit, and he really did a good job of filling the Ronnie Bell role of being like that explosive playmaker that Michigan was needing.
I always had a lot of respect for him. Watching him play basketball, I knew as it goes. I had a gut feeling that he was going to be an exceptional football player, and
He kind of looked like a football player playing basketball to me when I saw him play.
Man, no, he looked like an athlete.
Well, yeah, but he didn't. He didn't. There's a different athleticism to me. But I watch a lot more basketball, so I don't know.
Andrell Anthony impressed me.
Or coordination, maybe.
Watching him play basketball, and we probably watched him play in person
10 times.
Yeah, I was gonna say 5 to 10, but I know we watched him a lot, and we were at one game when Jim Harbaugh was there as well. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I was just impressed with him all around in high school, and it's good to see that he's doing extremely well at U of M with his breakout game against East Lansing's Michigan State Spartans. I kind of disappointed he didn't stay with the home team, but guys got a right to go to whatever school they want to go to. So JJ, back to the game. You said U of M choked.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough charge to make. Did they appear to be prepared for the game, in your opinion?
Very much so in certain ways. They didn't seem to be prepared on the defensive side of the ball, but on the offensive side of the ball, I'd say that they were very, very prepared. Just they had a game plan for Anthony. They had a game plan for Cade McNamara, and that was obvious to me.
In what way did they not appear prepared on the defensive side of the ball?
They had at least three 12 men on the field substitution like that.
Okay.
They had penalties. They were
you.
not ready for Michigan State's defense. And while they held Jaden Reed and Naylor mostly in check, Kenneth Walker was killing them in the passing game, killing them in the running game. He broke loose in the second half for sure.
Okay, we're gonna keep this kind of short today, but was there a play that you could consider as the turning point of the game?
The Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy fumble.
Tell me about it.
That was the play that turned the game. That was the momentum swinger. I mean,
when did it happen? Where were they at when it happened?
They were in the red zone. They were gonna knock on the door and score, and instead, Michigan State used that to
where were they at in the point of the game? I mean, what was the score? Was the score close? Was it? What was the?
You saw it. You tell me.
I know that, but everyone didn't see it.
Okay.
They didn't see. You might have stepped away to get a beer or something, and came back 5 minutes later and thing. But yeah, I will agree that was indeed a major point in the game, and I personally question why he was in the game, why J.J. McCarthy was in the game at that point. He had almost fumbled, if you would remember. Well, he actually
did fumble. They recovered it.
It went out of bounds.
Oh yeah. I mean, no one recovered it.
He had fumbled previously, and I question why was he in there. What do you think of the decision to play two quarterbacks like that?
I think that Michigan knows that they can't beat Ohio State without some type of dynamic Johnny Manziel-esque magic or something like that. And I think J.J. McCarthy is the best candidate to give it to him. I think that Jim Harbaugh was trying to sneak in reps in high-pressure situations.
Okay.
I think that's the only thing that makes sense to me is that they want to give him like live game action experience under pressure for later. That's the only thing that makes sense. If they thought that Michigan was going to potentially make it to the playoff or potentially beat Ohio State, I think that they understand the ceiling that Cade McNamara has, and I think that they were trying to get the dynamic freshman some reps. But
okay, that's kind of logical up to a point. But I still go back and I say I was surprised that he was in at that fumble. And that fumble, as you said, the turning point in the game. JJ, we're going to get ready to wrap it down, but I got one more question I want to ask you. But before I ask you a question, is there anything in the game that you want to comment on? Anything you want to bring to the attention of anyone? Anything at all?
No, I guess we should mention the Hutchinson's touchdown that was overturned. I think that he probably shouldn't. I think they probably got the call right, but looking at it in review, I think that whatever the call on the field was, I probably would have just had it stand. I didn't see any like indisputable evidence to overturn it. But that was a key moment in the game. But other than that, I mean, I was really impressed with. Obviously Kenneth Walker the third. I think he's the second best running back in the country after Bijan Robinson. I think he's like the best running back in the Big Ten far and away. I think he almost stamped his ticket to New York for the Heisman.
Okay.
But I was impressed by the Naperville, Illinois native Peyton Thorne. He didn't let a bad couple of series affect him going forward. He was resilient, and he I think his play and his calmness and his coolness and his leadership, I think, was very important. I don't think people are going to be talking about that when you talk about what Kenneth Walker the third did, but I was impressed by what Peyton Thorne did.
Offensively, U of M gained 552 yards. Michigan State gained 395 yards. So U of M outgained them in the yards tremendously. Why did they lose the game? Why did U of M lose this game, JJ?
Penalties, turnovers, and missed opportunities.
Okay, well said.
They were the better coach team won.
Speaking of coach, my last question before we go. Will the two coaches that were on the side, the two head coaches that were on the sideline in the game Saturday, be on the sideline for these two teams next year?
Neither one of these coaches will be coaching in Michigan this time next year.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it there from JJ himself. Leave your comments in the comment section, and we will see. Do you want to elaborate at all on that, JJ, or you just want to wait and hold on?
LSU, I think, is going to get Mel Tucker, and Michigan, I think, is going to get Matt Campbell, or just anyone that can beat, if not Ohio State, at least Michigan State with more consistency than Jim Harbaugh can.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless at that for JJ to say neither coaches will be walking the sideline in Michigan next year.
Someone is on one trajectory and another coach is on another trajectory.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first here from the sports analyst JJ. I'm glad you were able to come and join us. As I said, give us a thumb up if you thought the program had anything interesting in it. Subscribe to the channel. We will see you next time, and peace.
Woo Pig Sui.
Amen to that.